Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, July 10th, 2018. Fire potential impacts for the next few days include some wind moving into southeast Idaho and far western Wyoming for today, and also some wet thunderstorms and a mix of wet and dry thunderstorms in place over portions of southern and eastern Nevada and up into much of Utah for this afternoon. Those thunderstorms will continue on Wednesday and Thursday and continue to moisten up in those areas over the next few days. Precipitation and lightning for the past 24 hours are shown here. We did see some heavier storms take place mainly over southern Nevada. Current fire activity is shown on this map with some new initial attack fires over Utah and southeast Idaho and a few little fires over western Nevada. The observed precipitation from the past 7 and 30 days is shown here, and this does not include the precipitation from yesterday. We finally have seen some good precipitation at least move into Utah and far southern Nevada. ERCs have been on the downward trend for the past few days as this moisture has moved into Utah and far eastern Nevada. Those areas in Utah that were hitting the historical maximums for the time of year have definitely backed off and are on a bit of a downward trend with this precipitation and higher relative humidities. Over northern Nevada, ERCs are still climbing as the conditions remain hot and dry in those areas. Sagebrush live field moisture samples are shown here for a couple of sites in western Utah. Recent observed values have decreased rapidly, with those values near historical minimums or even surpassing them at the Horse Hollow site. This morning's satellite imagery shows a very broad area of high pressure centered over the central U.S., causing very warm temperatures in place over the Great Basin and allowing moisture to rotate up through the center of the Great Basin. We'll expect this moisture to remain in place over the next few days. Thunderstorm coverage for this afternoon will take place mainly over central and western Utah and eastern and central Nevada. Some of those storms will move up into far southeast and western Wyoming as well. High-risk triggers have been issued for south central and southeast Idaho for gusty winds and low relative humidities. Those wind gusts are shown here on the image on the left over southern and southeast Idaho. We'll also expect to see gusty outflow winds where the thunderstorms develop this afternoon. The image on the right shows the general extent where we expect to see those thunderstorms developing this afternoon. The vicinity of the Martin Fire shouldn't see any thunderstorm activity today, and conditions will still be fairly dry with minimum relative humidities near 10%. More of the same is expected for Wednesday, as we'll see those thunderstorms develop in many of the same locations, including Utah and eastern Nevada. Gusty outflow winds can be expected with any of these thunderstorms, and many of them will be producing at least some light precipitation. On Thursday, we'll begin to see a little bit more moisture moving further northward in Nevada and possibly a little bit further westward as well, with thunderstorm coverage decreasing across northern Utah and Wyoming. Gusty outflow winds are always possible with these summertime thunderstorms. 3-day precipitation accumulations are shown on this image. This is showing pretty good chance for some precipitation, mainly over Utah and southern and central Nevada over the next few days. On Friday, we'll finally see some of those thunderstorms push further north and west into northern and western Nevada and possibly up into southwest Idaho. On Friday, we have issued high-risk triggers for these thunderstorms, as conditions have been generally dry in those areas. By Saturday, some of that moisture quickly moves off to the east, and we'll see thunderstorms return to Idaho and western Wyoming. By Sunday, we'll finally start to see some clearing and some drying across the geographic area with decreasing thunderstorm coverage. And more of this dry pattern continues into the first of next week. The 7-day precipitation accumulations are very similar to the 3-day. Most of the precipitation will be occurring in the short term. The extended forecast from the Climate Prediction Center is calling for above normal temperatures along the west coast, with above normal chances for some precipitation mainly over southern Utah and to some extent northern Utah and central Nevada. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.